it's my job to take them down a notch and be like, okay, yes, we want you to sell, but we also want to make sure that you're doing it the right way and that you're maximizing effort. My thoughts on sales ops is that your sales reps are your clients, and you should treat them as such. And you can definitely push back on clients, but my job is to make their lives as easy as possible to sell. Because essentially they're the ones bringing in the money, right? I'm not going out there and getting new revenue, but they are. And so it's my job to make sure that they have everything that they need, that they're as effective as possible, and that we can see what they're doing so that we can report on it and kind of fine tune going forward. I truly believe that sales ops is kind of the glue that holds sales together, and it's kind of the there's just a lot of tentacles going everywhere of things that you touch, and it keeps everything kind of cohesive.
Yeah, that's fantastic. If we relate that to our earlier discussion, when does sales ops come in? You have an interesting thing to think about, right? So when we come in as sales ops, we might be the first sales operations role. When we're enabling our reps, you said they're our customer, but they haven't had a sales ops person before. So how do we go about forging that relationship and that alliance with sales reps?
That's always, an ongoing conversation. I think with any relationship, it's about trust. I need to prove to them that I'm not a hindrance to them, and that, especially when it comes to data, like putting data into the system is important, and they need to be incentivized to do that, because a lot of sales reps kind of have a one-track mind of sell, 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 which, we want them to have, but it's my job to kind of take them down a notch and be like, okay, yes, we want you to sell, but we also want to make sure that you're doing it the right way, and that, we're maximizing effort. So it's really about trust, just with any relationship. I need to prove to them that I'm trustworthy, and that I have their best interests at heart, and they need to prove to me that they're gonna do what I tell them to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust is an interesting one, right? Because we're talking here about a cultural change. If you're the first sales ops role in a business, we're changing the thought patterns of reps to be more data led and to trust the data and the people providing it. Really interesting to see how that cultural change happens with you, Abby, how you affect the cultural change, how we build the belief in the data.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard. It's about repetition a lot, and it's about incentivization too. So one of the things that we've done here at FRT is we created a new comp plan with activity bonuses. So it wasn't just about, especially because our sales cycle is so long, and actually our commission process is even longer because it takes years for a case to pay out, which is how we pay our reps. So in the meantime, to incentivize reps to, put meetings into the system and create opportunities, and kind of work through the funnel, which is often the frustrating part of being a sales rep, is getting stuck in the funnel. But with activity bonuses, we've kind of helped them realize that data is important, and that they see a direct one-to-one benefit from entering in data, and making sure their data is correct. If their meetings aren't in there, they're not going to get credit for what they've done, and that's, and accountability too. I think we have a weekly sales meeting where we literally go through the data of who has done what meetings that week. And if you're light a week, that's fine. But if you're light for multiple weeks, you're not in trouble. But it's a conversation of like, hey, how can I help you succeed? Because I'm seeing you struggle a bit, and again, it's my job to help you out and make you look the best that you can, to our bosses, essentially. Like, I want to make you look good, and that's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so important, isn't it, Abby, to bring data to those conversations so those conversations are effective.
Exactly. We got to show, one, that we're paying attention, and two, that it matters.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Now, something you can help educate me on, because most folks I interview are dealing with much shorter sales cycles and probably higher volume of deals.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand how the data works there, right? Because we can aggregate that, we can look for trends, we can see like where we're winning, losing, for example. It's a very interesting case, so with longer deal cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really curious to hear whether we get a different use or value out of the data. I mean, I suppose the question would be, what what is data useful for in an organization like that in the world of sales ops?
Yeah, I think the key for a longer sales cycle is making sure you know what deals to go after. So we've
Mm,
done a lot of market analysis and green space analysis to see, like, hey, where are our gaps in the market? So, the our market are these, big custodians and banks and hedge funds, and there's a finite number of them, especially that kind of reach the threshold of who we want to go after. And so we've done a lot of work, not necessarily on, with sales reps, but on the just analysis side of like, hey, let's aggregate some data and let's see who we should actually go after, so I can give this list to the sales reps so they're not just, cold calling, which in a longer sales cycle isn't going to be as effective at all. But instead, really focusing on the deals that matter. We, for the last 2 years, we've told our reps, again, incentivizing is key for reps. We've had our reps list their top 10 deals for the year. And if they get one, they get a bonus, right? And that's part of the deal. So they're incentivized to go after these bigger fish because of the way our revenue model is set up.
okay, so that makes sense. It's about spending time in the right areas.
Mm-hmm.
And an interesting link to that is obviously you have quite an extensive marketing background,
Yep.
which is great for people in sales ops to learn about, especially as we are aligning the whole revenue journey. So in that analysis, when we're looking at where do we win, where should we target, curious to hear how your marketing roles come into that, if at all.
I mean, a little bit. So my marketing was at an agency, and it was a lot of like website builds and stuff. So it wasn't
Okay.
necessarily revenue generating. I was more on the analytics and website, project management side. With Kanunu, I did a little bit of growth marketing on the consumer side, although we were more B2B focused. It was more like a B2B2C type revenue model. But I think it definitely gave me insight into marketing and into how, you know, sales is a funnel, right? That's what we talk about. And the sales process is the middle to bottom of that funnel. And the marketing process is the top. They're the ones that are going to get you leads. They're the ones that are going to build the collateral to help you sell. They're the ones that are going to, make it possible to even get somebody in the door. And so it's an essential part of the sales process that not a lot of people really consider, because it's more broad. And again, our sales cycle is so limited that it's more about collateral and content for our reps, and building um, a knowledge of the market and an expertise in the market. Our marketing team is actually, we had planned a conference for 2020, the first conference of its type, Of course, that got canceled, and we're planning it for 2022. But I think marketing has a big impact on your reputation in
Yeah.
the market. And without marketing, my last company actually went under because we didn't do enough marketing and we didn't get out there. And because we were focusing on the B2B, we neglected the B2C side. And that was where the data was going to come from, that was going to uh, interact with our SaaS program and incentivize the companies to actually buy. But without the consumer side, there was no data, there was no value. Um, yeah, I mean, marketing is essential in terms of just making yourself known and building a reputation in the market. And especially with us, reputation is everything, because there are maybe two other players out there, and if we don't have a good reputation, these big fish are going to go to our competitor because we don't have the clout in the market.
Okay, this throws up a really interesting question for me then. So we're building our reputation, we're building a sense of who we are through our marketing department.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at some stage, those clients, prospects, they're going to come into contact with sellers. And I'm really interested to hear whether we actually try and follow through that image that we carry forward in marketing with our sellers. Like, do we try and make that a continuous thing? Do we get sellers involved in creating that image? How does it all work so it feels like it flows and people kind of feel like they're interacting with like a beast with like a single body mindset look?
I mean, that's a challenge. That's definitely a challenge. And I don't know if I have a good answer to it, to be
Yeah.
honest, because it depends on the person, it depends on the rep, it depends on the client, it depends on a lot of things, especially, when I'm not looking at a volume industry, right? Uh, but I think aligning message is and consistency is definitely key um, in building that reputation, and I think our sales reps are a little bit more senior. And I think that helps in kind of, and they have reputation in, like our individual reps have a reputation in the industry, because they're going to conferences, because they're talking to people, they're traveling, again, because it's such a larger larger prospects. We can really spend the time building that reputation um, across both marketing and sales reps, as as an expertise, as an expert in the field. And I think that's key. And we leverage a lot of our kind of operational people. So we have the head of legal jumps on calls all the time. We have product marketing jump on calls. We have operational people jumping on calls, because it's not just a relationship with the rep, it's a relationship with the entire company. And so it's pulling in the subject matter experts who are going to answer the questions that the prospects have and make sure that they're fully comfortable in their decision to go with us.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. It's a reputation of the entire company. You're so right. It's important because when they do become a client, that's where that relationship goes, isn't it? It is with the entire business after the sales cycle.
Yeah, and I mean, they need to know that we've got their back,
Yeah.
front line and center. We've got to make sure that they don't question us and that they feel like they're in good hands with us.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And what a great way of achieving that. Want to return to the beginning of our conversation, and it's, we're building out an ops function for the first time. And one of the things you mentioned you've done is building reports, dashboards, so the executive team can have visibility to what's happening in the business. When we're doing this for the first time, people have the joy of having sales ops finally to do some of this stuff. Number one, where do you start? And number two, what have you found people really care about to get going?
Oh man, first of all, I love reports and dashboards. Like it's
Yeah.
really terrible how much I love them. My boss knows this too, so he'll be like, "I know you're so excited. I've got another dashboard for you." Uh, I think the key is and reporting is the opportunity cycle. I think opportunities and however you define those, that's kind of the bottom of the funnel. That's where you want to focus on making the deal. And I think that's where decision makers come in, and they're the ones who are going to say yay or nay to a deal. And it's important to understand why a deal wins and why a deal doesn't win. And figuring out kind of, what factors went into that. I think I really like to start kind of at the bottom of the funnel and work my way up. And then you can get into reports and dashboards of, like, again, your top 100 prospects, or looking at your client data. Or we have a lot of different segments that we focus on in our company. So building out specific dashboards for each of the stakeholders there. But really, when you want to start, you got to start with opportunities and figuring out why, like figuring out the why. That's the most fun part, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. Okay. I have a final question for you, Abby.
Okay.
If you're in a room full of sales ops superstars, what would you ask them?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't think it'd be one particular question. I just want to pick their brain. I think the biggest thing that new companies struggle with is data cleanliness. And I'd probably want to ask about, what are their strategies for data cleanliness? Because I think that's something that every company struggles with. And it's so important because, again, if your data is incorrect, your reporting is going to be incorrect, and your insights are going to be incorrect. So I'd probably ask them about that. Yeah.